I want to welcome in Philip Fitzsimmons, who is the archivist at Southwestern Oklahoma State University and the Al Harris Library. Good morning, Philip.
Good morning.
So glad to have you in. You were in, I want to say, a few years ago. We were talking about all the cool things that you guys have done at the library, but you also, at that time, kind of let me know about this society that you're a member of, and it's called the Mythopoeic Society. And I know you've got to be super excited that your annual kind of convention, MythCon, is coming to Weatherford this weekend, MythCon 54. So before we get into MythCon, why don't you give us kind of a brief description of what Mythopoeic is, because it's probably unfamiliar to several people out there.
Mythopoeic literature is when someone takes either a folk tradition or a mythical tradition and work that into an original mythos of their own in their stories. But the other side of it is that it can't just be that you put the story in a fictional Greek or Nordic world. You've also got to make it so that the characters develop spiritually, and hopefully even the reader, him or herself, will develop spiritually while reading the literature.
And great examples of that would be Narnia from C.S. Lewis, obviously Lord of the Rings, J.R.R. Tolkien. Most of us read all of that as children, or maybe you've at least seen the movies, which, hey, I tell you what, Peter Jackson did an incredible job with the Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit and all of that, but great stories. And the very interesting thing that I think our audience will really appreciate, both these men were Christians, and they were trying to, kind of spin stories that would lead the reader, to, as you mentioned, spirituality, Christianity, through their stories. I mean, it's always a triumph of good over evil, but in these mythical worlds, right?
Another really good example, a contemporary example, is written by our guest of honor, David R. Slayton, who wrote the Adam Binder, which are urban fantasies, and he's also doing some epic fantasies called The Gods of Night and Day, and his background is Greek mythology.
Wow.
So,
little Homer.
I know, right?
What a timely
We just might talk about Homer.
Yeah.
So, yes, while Tolkien and Lewis, they both loved Northern mythology. You'll also remember that Lewis would work in Father Christmas as well as Greek mythology into his work. So you can do all of those in Mythopoeic literature. That
is really fascinating. So what happened is back at Oxford, back in the day, you had Tolkien and C.S. Lewis that were both professors at the college there, and another young man that people may or may not know. Is it Charles Williams?
Charles Williams was
later.
He was working in London.
Oh, okay.
He was an editor, but when World War II happened, they sent him to Oxford to keep him safe.
Oh.
And so basically from the time they met, a few years into that, Tolkien and Lewis became fast friends, okay? And they got to, on Tuesday nights, there would be these Christian Oxford Dons would meet in Lewis's rooms, and Lewis would say something like, okay, anybody got something that they're working on? And that person would get up and read from their works in progress. And they would really criticize each other's work, and it greatly improved it. Can you imagine getting to hear the Lord of the Rings in progress?
And C.S. Lewis is saying, well, J.R.R., I like that line, but I'm a little curious about this ring thing. No. I mean, how cool is that they would probably help edit each other, right, or critique?
That's exactly what they did. Yeah,
they were called the Inklings.
They were called the Inklings, yes. And so, yeah, technically, what Lewis would say was, "Oh, tollers, you can do better than that." And out of shame, of course, Tolkien would start all over whatever it was he was working on. Yeah, he never stopped reworking his stuff.
Yeah, because, I mean, if you really, dig into the weeds, the Silmarillion, which was a little harder read than Lord of the Rings, his son, actually, these were like unfinished manuscripts, right, that his son, was it Christopher, I think?
Christopher.
Yeah, that kind of finished that. And I did finally get through the Silmarillion, and I love the band Marillion, which took their name from that. But don't get me started on progressive rock, because then we'll take this into a different realm. But Philip Fitzsimmons is our guest, and so when you talk about this Mythopoeic Society, which was started in the 60s, you started having kind of yearly get-togethers of people that love this genre, right? And that's what MythCon is all about. So that's coming to Weatherford, which is pretty cool.
Very cool. So, yes, you're right. What happened is there was a young man named Glenn Goodnight Jr., who had the birthday party of Bilbo and Frodo Baggins out in the park in Los Angeles in '67, and it was very popular. And he was a third grade school teacher for 45 years.
Wow.
Okay, so, it went from these parties for the first 3 years to book discussions all over Los Angeles. And then they started doing these annual conferences that started for about the first 6 or 8 of them were in California. And then they go to Los Angeles, Las Vegas.
Yeah.
And, it's over the years, it's been anybody who is willing to host it. And what's special about what I've got going on is that since 2017, SWOSU has been the official archive of the Mythopoeic Society. So that means that I've got both the physical and the digital collections. And the digital collections, we've had over 1.6 million downloads.
Wow.
All over the world since 2017. It's been very successful. And so, I write these reports and everything, and of course they've also looked at it. What we have are all of the publications that MythSoc, that's what the short name we give ourselves, publishes, which is an academic journal named Mythlore. There is the Mythic Circle. It publishes original short fiction and poems, and Mythprint is the newsletter. But I've also got things like the program booklets for every conference from the past.
Oh, cool.
And many other things. So they go, well, Phil, I think it's your turn to host the conference because we'd like to see this.
Well, yeah, that would be
And it's
cool.
like, well, that's fair. That's what we'll do.
And it ties in with the centennial of the Mother Road. So you're kind of using the Route 66 theme for your title, right?
Yes. The title is Get Your Fantasy Kicks on Route 66. And we have been emphasizing the fact that we are doing this during the centennial year. And to show you how supportive the people of Weatherford have been, Mayor Mike Brown read a proclamation making it official that July the 24th through the 27th in Weatherford, Oklahoma, is the official Get Your Fantasy Kicks on Route 66 weekend.
Oh, that is awesome. Awesome. So MythCom 54 is what we're talking about. It is Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Over
and Monday.
And Monday, too.
Monday
Yeah, that's right. Over at the Tom Stafford Air and Space Museum, right? And Philip Fitzsimmons is our guest. We're going to talk a lot more about this coming up. Quick break, back with more.
State Representative Anthony Moore.
Rick Cook tells it like it is, and he doesn't back down. He's tough. He's direct. Rick doesn't care about political gains. He cares about getting results and standing up for our values. I need Rick fighting right along beside me in the Oklahoma legislature.
Conservative businessman Rick Cook will fight to secure the border, protect rural Oklahoma, and stand with President Trump. Rick Cook for State Senate. Tough leadership, real results.
Hi, I'm Rick Cook. Help me make Western Oklahoma great again. Paid for by Friends of Rick Cook, 2026.
Deer Creek Market and Variety in Hydro, the best in friendly small-town customer service, hosting everything from fresh hand-cut steaks, fresh ground beef made in-house, along with fresh fruits and vegetables grown and made in Oklahoma nuts, candies, salsas, pickles, and more. And don't forget to check out the Variety side, full of unique made-in-Oklahoma gift items. And now, treat yourself to the brand-new ice cream and coffee parlor, your new go-to spot for a sweet scoop or a fresh brew. Shop Deer Creek Market and Variety in Hydro.
When you're making decisions as important as choosing home health or hospice for a loved one, it's important to ask the right questions. Are they locally owned? Are they proven through years of successful business practices? If necessary, can you transition from home health to hospice with the same care given? You can find all this and more at your locally owned Shepherd Home Health and Hospice. They've been serving Clinton and the surrounding area since 2006 with dependable, local, and reliable care. Shepherd Home Health and Hospice of Clinton. Call today.
This summer, the adventure returns. Dinosaurs, blockbusters, family fun. At the Movies is back at the Edge Church this July. Explore a Jurassic Park-themed experience and discover powerful biblical truths through the stories on the big screen. Join us Sundays at 9, 10:30, and noon at the Edge Church in Clinton, located in the J.C. Lane Shopping Center. Bring your family, invite a friend, and find the place where you belong. At the Movies, every Sunday in July at the Edge Church in Clinton.
Ladies, it's time to save big at It's All About One, downtown Weatherford. Shop their huge sale on women's clothing. Anything that's marked 50% off, they're doing a 2 for $40 or 3 for $50 sale. You'll find stylish tops, dresses, jeans, and more at prices you won't want to miss. Whether you're updating your wardrobe or treating yourself to something new, now's the perfect time to shop. Hurry in. Deals this good won't last. And It's All About Moi, located in downtown Weatherford. It's All About Moi, where it's all about you.
All right, 721, back to the Western Oklahoma Wake Up Show. Our guest is Philip Fitzsimmons from Southwest Oklahoma State University, talking about MythCom 54, which is coming to Weatherford this week, and it starts Friday over at the Tom Stafford Air and Space Museum. So I know a lot of people out there that listen to this show are readers like us. I'm sure the majority of our audience has read The Lord of the Rings, at least The Hobbit, or we talked about seen the movie. We've seen Narnia. At MythCom, there's a lot of stuff going on, but obviously, if you want to get your Tolkien fix, you're going to have many discussions about his works, right?
That's one of the beauties of this MythCon is you can go and have conversations with other people who have the same interest that you have. And let me emphasize that this conference is both a pop conference as well as an academic one. So we have got activities and, some people will wear costumes and on one evening every year, we reenact the scene from The Hobbit in which Bilbo's ancestor cuts the head of an orc off and knocks it into a rabbit hole, thus also creating golf. So it's called Golf and Ball.
That's
so it's just a
awesome.
series of fun things that we do. On Saturday night, we have entertainment. So our own Harold Wright is going to be doing 15 minutes of close magic. At the beginning. I mean, how can you beat that?
That's
right?
super cool.
One of our guests of honor is going to do 2 readings from his books, and a choral student here, Ava car is going to be singing some songs that use the lyrics from literature for us, and it turns out that she's a cosplay person.
Oh,
so
wow,
she will
yeah.
be wearing her costume, which is a character she created that's half fairy and half dragon. And what this character does is it soothes dragons by singing to them. So during that session, we do have a costume contest that I'll be running. And so that is the pop side, but also really hours and hours of papers that people are going to be reading, and there will be discussions. Everyone gets a Discord account so you can continue the discussions online. So this is a hybrid event in which we're going to have people over 40, close to 50 people all over the world will tune in, and they can listen, they can watch the presentations, or they can do that here. So it's both an heavy academic as well as popular things to do.
Which will, and you also mentioned that you will have attendees in person, but then there's this big virtual presence, right? People that maybe live in London that can't fly to Weatherford, Oklahoma, they can attend virtually, right?
Yes. One of the attendees was doing her presentation in the Ukraine when the alarms went off and she had to apologize and go take cover. And by the way, she was fine. But we get people from, I think the last time I looked, there were people from 9 different countries were registered this year.
That's super cool. And can people still register if people locally want to attend? Maybe you didn't know about this before.
Yes. Just show up. So when you get to the museum, there's a door, their education center that's over to the left. You go back there, and Victoria Godozic and my wife, Diane Fitzsimmons, have a registration table, so you can tell them what it is that you're needing, and they will help you out.
That's so cool. And once again, you can attend, if you register, you can attend either in person, virtually, any of the different events. If there's just one or two that piqued your interest, you can do that, or you can check it all out, right?
That is absolutely correct. Now, Sunday night is the banquet.
Okay.
So you would have to buy an extra ticket for that.
Sure.
Otherwise, you do everything. And let me say a word about our special guest.
Yeah.
So on Saturday morning, we arrive at 8:45, and we do a sort of parade back to where the events are going to happen, and people will wear their academic regalia and their costumes if they want to. And we have opening remarks by our president, David Emerson, and then I will introduce Joe Christopher, fantastic scholar, really emphasizes Narnia and anything to do with Lewis. He's 92. Wow. He has told me himself that this will be his last MythCon. So he was one of the first members, and he's hardly missed a MythCon over the years.
So he goes back to the 60s with Mr. Goodnight then, right?
Thereabouts, yes.
Wow.
Absolutely. I don't know for sure, but if not, it was awfully close.
Yeah.
And, he's been involved with helping with all of the publications. He has, just in the last year has contributed some poetry, Arthurian poetry, to the Mythic Circle. And I don't have it in front of me, but the title and the abstract, it's going to be fantastic. He's going to kind of do a blend of talking about the history of scholarship, the way it's been presented at the MythCons, and comparing that to the road trips people have been taking on Route 66 over the years.
Cool.
Now, is that
Tying that
clever
in.
or
Yeah, that
what?
is neat. Yeah.
So I'm really pleased with that. And by the way, his wife was born in Weatherford.
Wow.
Yeah, and her father was a war hero who died as a pilot during World War II.
Oh, wow.
And so she was raised by her grandparents. And Joe Christopher has 8 relatives who will be here with him during the conference, including his son, Randall.
That
who
is
will be
so
driving
cool.
him.
92 years old.
92
and
years old and
so.
seriously being supported by his family.
Yeah.
And he's got all of these friends, and he's sharp enough to keep on presenting.
Oh, that's super cool. So he will be kind of the keynote speaker at MythCon coming up. Yeah, coming up here Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, and then things wrap up Monday morning. Now, just to test my knowledge and our listeners out there, we're going to do a rapid fire. Is this mythopoeic or is this not? So we know Lord of the Rings. We know Narnia. Okay, what about the Game of Thrones series? Would that be mythopoeic or just more fantasy?
I think you would get arguments both ways, but it definitely has that sort of northern mythology influence and the like of that, and you do have magic and the dragons.
Yeah.
So I think that you would have a strong argument that it is.
Okay, what about the Odyssey?
The Odyssey, absolutely. In fact, you could say that the ancient Greek culture and myths, and believe me, Greek mythology is sown throughout both the Iliad and the Odyssey.
Yeah.
So, yes.
Okay. Star Wars.
Yes.
Wow.
Absolutely. In fact, the great mythologist Joseph Campbell wrote Hero with 1,000 Faces, in which he, back in the 40s, in which he gave the structures of mythologies and shown how it is that stories fall under those archetypes. And Lucas studied that book.
Yeah.
So it was an intentional presentation of the story archetypes that he was doing. And, don't forget that series of interviews that Joseph Campbell did right at the end of his life. He didn't get to live long enough to see all of them, any of them maybe, broadcast on TV, were to honor the work that he did in that direction.
So I think our listeners may have come into this. I don't know what mythopoeic is, and it turns out every one of them do. Because even if you're not a reader, you've seen the movies, whether it's Star Wars. You got to see the Odyssey, by the way. Very well done. I will say that. But it's really exciting to have this event. So before I let you go, Philip, how can people register?
You can go to just do a search on the internet for MythCon 54, and it will take you to that page. And there are links that will show you where it is that you can register and how to do that. Let me also say before we go that our other guest of honor is David R. Slayton. So Joe Christopher was born and raised in Bartlesville, got his Ph.D. at OU, and had a career in Stevensville, Texas.
Okay.
Slayton was born in Guthrie, went to Denver, has been a computer software consultant all these years, and finally is a full-time writer.
That's cool. So he's going to be, once again, guest of honor as well, talking about his writings and sharing about it, the characters he developed as well. Well, Philip, it sounds like it's going to be fascinating. We encourage people to go to MythCon 54. Just Google that. It'll take you to the registration. And kudos for getting this here. It's really impressive to get this in Weatherford.
It's been my pleasure, and I have really we appreciate the support that we've gotten from the city fathers and from individuals all across Weatherford. Let me say that the folk over at Corn Bible Academy, I used to teach their English kids how, help them with their research.
Yeah.
And one year they did a Lord of the Rings homecoming theme. And they invited me to that. And one of their students showed up one day, and he had purchased all paperback versions of all of the Lord of the Rings, put cardboard around them, and did original paintings so that he would have his own bound things. And it was beautiful. I'm mentioning that to say, yes, this area, we love these stories.
Yeah.
And so it really is a good place for us to be having this.
It is perfect. MythCon 54 coming up this week. And Philip, thanks so much for coming in.
My pleasure.
All right, stick around. We got news coming up right after this.
CK Energy Electric Cooperative congratulates Scout Acosta of Clinton High School, Zoe Gosen of Lakiba Sickles High School, Brecken Hedrick of Bingeroni High School, Bailey Matlock of Cyril High School, and Sutton Shoffley of Hobart High School. These students won an all-expense-paid trip to Washington, D.C., and a $1,000 scholarship through CK Energy's Youth Tour contest. Committed to our youth, that is part of the CK Energy commitment.
A small business affirmation from Progressive. Food truck owners, today business will be booming. People will love your new menu and not make special orders. You will not roll your eyes when someone calls it a quesadilla. You will also switch to Progressive to get 30 customizable coverage options and restore your inner peace. See if you can save in as little as 8 minutes at progressivecommercial.com.
Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Coverage is not available in all states or for all vehicles and coverage selections.
All right, 7:35. It is the Western Oklahoma Wake Up Show, and John Matthews joining us now. John, have you ever read a book?
It's been a while. I think Howard Stern's Private Parts.
Private Parts by Howard Stern
was the last book I read. I want to say I was in high school, maybe maybe college.
That is hilarious.
Yeah, no, that's the last one.
Yeah.
You?
Oh well, I am reading a trilogy about World War I right now, and I'm reading about the Eastern Front because, I read fiction, but I read a lot of historical accounts and biographies and memoirs. It's like I read a rock bio, and then I read like a historical biography of I'm trying to read the biographies of all our presidents, but obviously a lot of fiction. Of course, I'm a big J.R.R. Tolkien guy. I'm a George R.R. Martin guy. I've given up on him finishing, his Song of Ice and Fire thing, but that's okay. We have the TV show.
So are you an audiobook guy, or you read?
No, I can't do audiobooks, John. That's cheating. And no offense, I know a lot of people do that, but no. But I will admit the one thing that I never thought that I would do, my wife, probably one of the first years after we got married, got me a Kindle. And I'm like, no, I want books to hold in my hand. I want to turn them. And now I read so much more because of the Kindle. It's so easy just to download stuff and take it with you. Have the app on my phone. I mean, it's amazing.
My daughter's got a Kindle, and we're running into, I need to find a way to put a time limit on it. She stays up all night reading.
That's great. She stays up all night reading. She's going to be amazing.
No, I know, but then she's grouchy. So I got to fix that part. Anyways, that's life.
That's awesome.